Welcome to the Driven to Succeed Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Olson. And today I have a guest that I just met a few weeks ago, and she is Tonia Detweiler, business owner of the Realty Lab in Delano, brokered by EXP. Welcome to the show, Tanya.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you for having me. Yeah.
Yes, when you called me kind of out of the blue simply because we didn't get an offer that we submitted, I was pleasantly surprised, let me say that. So, and then got to meet you. We talked for longer. We wanted to go to lunch, couldn't even do that.
hmm
But I was very happy with like what you have going on and like how you've grown your business. So that's what we want to talk about a little bit today.
Fun, fun. Yeah, this is exciting. Yeah,
And you're in Delano, Minnesota.
I am. We're located. My office is in Delano, and I also live in Delano.
Awesome.
hmm
Yeah, so you're ingrained into the community out there now, right?
Definitely.
Because your office, which is awesome, by the way, is
Thank you.
downtown
hmm
Delano.
So we're located in the downtown, the historic part of downtown Delano, and my husband and I, moved to Minnesota in 2007 from Ohio with our four boys.
So what brought you to Minnesota? Like
Uh,
do you have family here or
no, we have no family here. We were a job transfer
okay,
for
for
my
your husband.
husband.
Yeah,
So moved to Minnesota, packed up from Ohio and moved across the country to Minnesota.
yeah,
And it ended up being home. Delano feels like home.
yeah,
I mean, 100% it's our home, and we're pretty grounded here now because our four boys are older and one is married, one's getting married, and we have a grandson. So yeah, it's
awesome.
mhm.
Yeah, yeah, now your roots are here, right?
The roots are here.
Yes. So I think you told me that you weren't in real estate in Ohio, but you came here and you jumped into it feet first, right?
So actually, the story is that I worked for a Fortune 500 company um before kids, before children. And once we had our first son, I decided that I would be a stay-at-home mom.
Okay,
So we fast forward, I had the four boys. We moved a lot. We were transferred a lot for job transfers. We were working together for my husband's career.
yeah,
I was taking care of the house, the kids, taking care of the family while he was focusing on his career.
sure.
And so we moved all over for that, and then we ended up moving to Minnesota, and our youngest was in kindergarten. And once I felt like the boys had their feet planted pretty solidly, I decided I was going to get my real estate license. So this is my 11th year, and I hit the ground running. I didn't look back. Like, I had put my career, on hold so that I could be a stay-at-home mom and raise the boys and that kind of thing. And I was like, you know what, once I got my real estate license, I knew that it took everything that I loved. It took the accounting, the numbers. I worked in accounting. But I also originally wanted to go to school for interior design. And so, it took that love for design and put that in that box as well.
Sure.
And then, of course, I love people. I'm just a people person. And
Couldn't tell.
could tell.
Right.
I just love helping people. So it just took all of those loves that I had, and put it in one box. And that's being a realtor. And it does not feel like I work a day in my life.
Right.
Every morning I wake up and I am up and go to the office, get my stuff done at the office, and then I'm out in the field showing
Right.
houses and that kind of thing. Yep.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, the best part of what they always say is like, you don't work if you love what you do, right?
Exactly. Yep.
And it's another day, right?
Right.
And
Right.
in this world, right, and specifically in real estate, it is a 7
Mhm.
day a week job, right?
It is. It's
'Cause-
7 days a week, and it is easy to you can get burnt out.
Oh
Like
yeah.
it really, I mean, I'm always running high octane. I
Right.
That's just my personality,
Hmm.
but it is important that you do take time off. And so I like to travel, like to take vacations, that kind of thing. And that is very, very important. Just for your health and your mindset, that kind of thing. Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that gets into like what your motivation is, like it
Hmm.
because that's your mindset, your motivation.
Hmm.
Like that's kind of your why, right? Like
Right.
because for you,
Hmm.
you've helped so many homeowners.
Hmm.
Um, what are your what when you're like out and about, like how do you get a lot of attract like new clients and like now you got your name out there, right? And
Hmm.
you're a staple of the community, but I have a feeling you still network like crazy. You have to have, right?
I do. I do network. I think that my advice for new agents, and this is what I did, was I didn't. I mean, I was a buyer's agent. I actually think that I told you this story. You know, when I first started, I was a buyer's agent. I didn't close my first transaction until I was 6 months in, and it's grueling. But
Hmm.
thankfully, I worked for our church part time, so I was on staff at the church, and so I did that to keep busy. Went to the office every single day. Worked from the real estate office to prepare for the my lessons for for at church and that kind of thing for the weekends. But I really think that you have to you have to go all in. If you're gonna be a realtor, if you're a new realtor, you have to just lay it all out on the line. And it's not a part-time job. You can't do it part-time or you're not gonna really have the business. Now, you can go from full-time to part-time 100%, but if you're trying to start your business, you need to pull out all the stops. So, a couple of things that I did was I made sure that I had enough name writers to put on my open house signs. And I would have 2 to 4 open house signs um, out on every corner, you know, for open houses. And I would have I should say, I had 2 to 4 open houses a weekend. And on every corner, I put 2 open house signs
Right.
because if somebody else had 1 sign out, I wanted to
It's
have more,
right.
right? Like, so it was like I was so determined that I was going to be successful at this. So it was open house signs went up on Friday after the road department went home,
All right.
and they stayed up until Sunday with my name on there
Right.
because I didn't have any listings.
Right.
You're a buyer's agent.
Right.
So how else are you going to get free advertising? Get your name out there, right?
Well, I love that idea because, I started a marketing company years ago, right before the '08 crash. And well, it was always about impressions, right?
Mhm. Yep.
So if you're driving past a corner and there's one sign so showing this way, right?
Mhm.
Then there's only one sign, right?
Yeah.
But if there's two, like, is there two listings? She's got two signs. Well, it just triggers
Uh-huh.
something, right?
Yeah.
So I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You've shown me some tricks. I love it. It's really great. Um, that's some of the best stuff. Like when we talked, like I meet a lot of real estate agents and that's my job, right? That's where my business comes from is, helping you, but and agents but getting that, right? And I think I've seen that your 11 years in this industry and your knowledge and just the little bit of time that I've known you so far is pretty amazing. And I just
Thank you.
complimenting you that
Thank
because
you.
a lot of people, I think, what you were talking about is, when you get into a straight commission business like real estate, insurance sales, mortgage, you can't. just be like, oh, it's going to come to me. It's going to be fine, because you're just not going to make it, right?
Mm-mm.
So you have to be doing that, and you have to be learning every day. And, it's trial and error, in some cases, right?
Mhm.
And it is what it is, right? So that's what I loved about our talk that we had the other day. Just hearing you now, just this little, I mean, these are just a little bit of what's in your toolbox, right? That's how you grow in your team. So speaking of your team, how many people do you have on your team?
So right now, the team numbers, people come and go, right?
Right,
That's
right.
real estate. So right now, I think I have like seven on my team.
Sure.
I
Sure.
probably should go back and count and see.
Yeah. Yeah.
We do have part-time agents on our team.
Hmm.
I have another gal that she's been in the business forever. She's an awesome lady. She knows the ins and outs of real estate, and she's more retired.
Sure.
She's enjoying life right now. But it's nice to have just be surrounded by people that have that knowledge, right? Like
Right.
that you can bounce things off of. And that's what I like about networking. When you talk about my team, the Realty Lab, that's one team. But another team is my professional team, my team of of lenders, of inspectors, of contractors.
Right.
I have really good relations with contractors. You need to make sure that you have a good network all the way across the board, because that's where your knowledge comes from, right? Like my knowledge comes from everybody. It comes from you, and it comes from my inspector,
Hmm.
going on those inspections. That was the other thing I did as a new agent, is I went to every single inspection, and I wanted to hear what the inspector was saying. I wanted to learn about houses. I wanted to know more, like, because the more you know, knowledge is power, right?
Well, specifically when you're taking buyers out, looking at a house,
Hmm.
you don't want to get an offer accepted, then go in the house and have an inspector completely take it apart when there's some obvious things, right?
Hmm.
So
Right.
learning that side of it and just understanding that you kind of semi inspect the house when you're doing a
Hmm.
walkthrough, right?
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
a showing.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
so that's what I've always said, because, I come across a ton of realtors, and because there's a lot.
Hmm.
It's what is it?
There's always, yeah.
3 million across this. I heard.
Depends
Am
on
I
how,
crazy?
depends on the market.
Right. Depends on the right.
If the market's good, we have more agents, right?
Right. And right now I know Minnesota dropped over 1,000 licenses, I believe, this year. But regardless, some agents, just okay, if they like it, yeah, let's write an offer. But
Mm,
some agents will be like, hey, think about this. You're on a big corner, you got little kids, this is a hot, busy highway right here, or whatever. So,
mhm,
being able to advise clients, looking out for truly everybody's best interest, right?
right. Yeah.
And not just being like, oh, you like this house, let's go. Right.
Right.
And oh, you got to do this way over list or whatever it is,
Yeah.
but
No, if you're going to make a purchase, I'm going to give you my opinion.
yeah.
I mean, 100% I'm going to give you my opinion, because um if you when you go to sell, I should say, when you go to sell, the first person that you're going to call is me.
Right.
If you're
Right.
my buyer, the first person you're going to call is me, because you want me to come in and let you know
Right.
what your house is worth. And I want to have good news for you. I
Right.
don't want to have a surprise because
Right.
you bought, a home that has something going on with it that I
Right.
didn't make you aware of, that
Hmm.
your home is not going to gain equity at the level of the neighbor's house down the street, that's across the street,
Right.
and down from the busy intersection, or from the railroad, or from whatever it is there,
Right.
right? Like
Right.
behind it or next to it, and power lines, that kind of thing. So those types of homes don't bother people. And it can be a great deal for buyers, because obviously you can get a really nice house that's been well maintained, and it's just has one of those things going on with it, right?
Right.
So I think that you just have to know more about it. Is this a house that you're going to plan on being in for a while and you don't care if it doesn't
Right.
gain the rate of, you know, equity that the other homes are going,
Right.
right?
And then, I've seen specifically, my mother's an agent in Brainerd area, right? And there's a couple names up there that she loses listings to, and she's like, yeah, it's funny because, I'll show them real market value for their house. And another agent that comes up and she's like, it happens all the time. And they're like 30, 40, $50,000 higher that they think that they can sell their house for. And it's like, and she's like, maybe in the springtime it works no problem, but the rest of the time, she's like, yeah, you're seeing price deductions after 30 days, 60 days. And then, she'll run across the people because a lot of times she's a big networker, so she'll run across people and they're like, oh yeah, yeah, we wish we would have kind of worked stayed with you,
Mm-hmm.
and it's because just having the buyers, in the real estate world, having their best interest and being honest and
Mm-hmm.
being that person. And so that way they do call you back, right? And
Right.
you are that front and that expert, right?
Right.
It's such a valuable thing for buyers, to have the empathy side for them as well, right? And I always try to position it from, you know, okay, I have my job. I do this every single day. You don't, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't know how this industry works. You don't know how rates work. Like when I'm talking about mortgage rates and how it can fluctuate from day to day and sometimes hours.
Mm-hmm.
If we have a big report coming out and the Fed comes on at 2:30 in the afternoon and the first words out of their mouth, the market changes like that. And then
Mm-hmm.
we're getting like pricing alerts, hey, lock now, when
Mm-hmm.
before it says float because we're expecting this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we went through it in December where November it was like, oh, we're probably going to push, rate increases into 2024.
Mm-hmm.
And literally 30 days later, without really anything that really triggered it, they just reverse course. We're looking
Mm-hmm.
at maybe 3 rate cuts in 2024. We're going to hold pat, blah, blah, blah. Like the numbers didn't change. So it was kind of interesting how they magically and all of a sudden, just like that, rates
Mm-hmm.
came down like almost a point, like within days, right? Um, trying to explain that to somebody that has no clue what the MBS is and what 30-year notes and treasuries and all of this, and trying to do it from a way that they can really understand it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And educate, here's why we may want to rate. Like, okay, we're building a house. Well, I don't know if I would want to lock a rate today, but a year ago we are like, okay, can we get a 90-day lock?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to cost this, but hey, it's going to cost you, or even 120 days. Like this is one way why we want to lock here is because it's going like this. And now we're looking where it's kind of leveled out, and hopefully in the next couple of months we might even see a bigger drop, and towards the end of the year and so forth, right? So just trying to educate everybody, and and that's what I can feel from like how you really work with your clients, and even just like I said, keep going back to our initial talk, like what you educated me on how you do things on your side and stuff that I haven't heard other agents do,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so forth. So that's been really awesome. Speaking of that, what 3 common misconceptions about buying or selling have you encountered? So let's put you on the spot a little bit for some people out there. Um,
Okay, so 3 misconceptions. So I think actually it's funny you and I were talking about this today when I walked in. Um that the one large misconception is that cash is king,
right,
that cash is always going to be the winner in multiple offers, that if you have cash you can go in and go much lower. You don't know, cash is not always king. The You don't know the motivation of the seller.
right,
you know there you just don't know.
right,
And so I think that whenever you're putting in an offer, you have to have an agent have a realtor that really knows what they're doing so that they know the right questions to ask. I can call the listing agent and talk with the listing agent and just get a better feel for, um, you know, the, the feel of the transaction.
Right.
Know how long the property's been on the market, run comps, know what the price, the real value of that property is. So cash is not always king, and I think that that's a large misconception.
Yeah. From the financing side, if we have somebody that's 20% down, 800 credit scores, salaried income, long time on the job, it's about as easy as you can get,
Hmm.
right? And a lot of times we'll do non-contingent offers with 5% down, knowing we are selling a house that's ready to go on the market tomorrow. We're just waiting to get under contract because we can't put our house on the market, not have somewhere to go, right? Um, that buyer, if I'm calling you as a listing agent, I'm saying, hey, everything's documented. They're
Hmm.
100% going to close, right? Whether we sell their house or not, that's why it's non-contingent, right?
Hmm.
Even though we probably are like, well, we're going to probably close same day,
Right.
or even if we're doing 5% down, we recast all the time too, right?
Hmm.
Because hey, we'll pull 401k funds out, put 5% down, get their house sold, and close like within 30 days later. And as long as we have all finance contingencies removed and so forth, we can close on that home,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
Um, or not even contingencies in that case. In that case, they can afford both payments, right? So that's a 100% good buyer, right? So you come in with that, and we're 15 grand higher than a cash offer. Well, right?
Hmm.
That's the job of the listing agent to inform their clients.
Correct.
Yep.
Correct. And I mean, it depends on, you know, the value, where we think the value of that home comes in, that kind of thing. I mean, there's a lot. If I'm a listing agent, I'm going to advise my clients on what the possibilities are. Like, these are some of the hiccups that we could run into by going with a financed offer versus a cash.
Right.
But here's the deal. If you can make this work and they're willing to pay 20,000 more than the cash offer, then you'll be hitting a grand slam,
Right.
right?
Right.
Like, so I lay it all on the line for my clients, and at the end of the day, they have to make the decision on what they want to do,
Okay.
right?
Right.
So that's one misconception, is that oh,
We don't have to do all three, but we could. There's
okay.
there's plenty of them, but today. But
Uh so yeah,
what's selling like? Well, we are buying like a buyer's like say in the tough market with your buyers and like in a multiple offer
mhm.
situation. And is it always like highly recommended to do all the things like and waive inspections and like do you have a kind of a rule of your own that you do since like hey, this is a house built in 2020 or 2019, right? What do we really have to worry about? A
So I
ton of inspections or anything?
Yeah, I mean, I feel that inspections are important.
Right,
At the end of the day, it's up to the client. I
right,
leave it up to the client. And if they want to get a little bit more like creative in our offer, then 100%. I have
right,
all the tools to do that, that
right.
I can advise them on, these are the things that we can do. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you love this home?
There you go.
That's one of my questions for my clients. Or, you know, what is the magic number for you?
Right,
Like what is it that you're willing to pay for this property?
right,
And if you don't get this home for that particular price, are you going to be able to sleep tonight?
right,
Or if you get it for that price, are you going to be able to sleep tonight?
right.
Right?
Hey, I love that. That's a great
So
way to look at it.
right. So it's just, you need to know your client. You
Hmm.
need to know who they are. And that's the biggest, I think that's by far the the biggest problem right now with these internet leads, that kind of thing, because people are getting leads and then they're doing is they're meeting people at the door and opening up doors. They get a phone call from Zillow and they're going to just go open the door for somebody because they want to go look at this house.
Right.
You become a door opener at that time. You're not a realtor, you're a door opener.
Right.
So, what are you going to do to set yourself apart from all the other door openers and show what your value wedge is to somebody when you're going to meet them and you have maybe a half hour with them? What is it that you're going to do? I mean,
Right.
how are you going to show them that you're different than all those other door openers?
So this leads me into our final segment here.
Mhm.
And, we talked about this earlier. So what are your goals in 2024 and beyond as far as growing your team?
Right.
Obviously that's what you want to do. And just listening to, our conversations and how much wealth of knowledge you have to help start a new agent or have an agent that's already, you know, somewhat knowledge. Like, why join a team such as yours versus go on your own as a solo agent?
Mhm. So, if I mean, you and I have met, just not too long ago, and we talked for a long time, and so I think that you know me pretty well. Um, you probably, and I just kind of I'm laughing inside to myself because I always have huge goals,
Right.
like just my goals are just crazy goals, and I'm just crazy enough to meet those goals, right? Like I because that's who I am. So I I when I started, just to back up a little bit, when I started into real estate and I hit the ground running, my goal was to open up my own office at 10 years. Like that was my goal. And I opened my own office in 4 years. So, like
Fast track
like,
that.
so that's the thing is, like, so where am I going today? So I have found that, as you hit your goals change all the time. Your goals are always changing. And I thought at that time that I really envisioned myself having this huge team and, we're gonna all be happy and
Right.
that kind of thing,
Right.
right?
Right.
Like, that's what I thought. You when I have a team and I love my team, and yes, agents come and go, that's life. But what I have found is that not everybody is has the same mindset as me. They don't have that same drive. They
100%.
don't have the burn in their belly to always be doing better, right?
Right.
Like that's just who I am. Like I lose sleep at night trying to figure out how am I going to change this business to so that I can show others that I'm not like any other agent out there, right? So I think that my goals for the future would be for me to grow my downline. You and I have talked briefly about EXP,
Hmm.
and and I think that people are comfortable with where they're comfortable
Right.
until you're not comfortable anymore,
Right.
right? So for me, I was with a couple, two different brokerages as I was growing my business, and loved them all for different reasons. But I also didn't like being at those brokerages for certain reasons. And so when I was looking, I interviewed several different brokers, and I thought I was ready to make my change. But then I had another one that was just kind of thrown at me from my team.
Right.
My team took me to EXP. They're like, we need to interview EXP. And at that point, I'm like, I don't want that name on my building. Like, I don't want that.
Right.
Like, I don't EXP. And so I'm like, okay, I'll chat with somebody. So I made a phone call, and had some interviews, and then we did a team interview with EXP as well, with my sponsor and her sponsor. And my team was ready to sign and move over to EXP without me. Like
Right.
I had no choice. We were going. So we ended up going over to EXP. And the thing is that I didn't go there for all these extra benefits that EXP brings, and I'm not going to get into those things. However, what I have found is that where my goal is going for this year, EXP helps me with that.
Right.
Growing my team, it's a good thing. I don't have to have agents come and be on my team per se, like on the Realty Lab. I can have my team be all over the world,
Right.
and I can help them. I can give them advice, which brings me into one of my next goals would be to become a coach and help people realize their goals. But I think that that's going to be the next step. I want to help people be successful in their real estate business, and be able to have these conversations with them like you and I have, but on a, on Zoom meetings, that kind of thing. But they can be individual agents um in my downline, or they could be on my team. That's the reality of it.
Right.
And I think that if I had to say where my goals are, that's where it is.
Coaching, I can see, is your absolute natural next step. Like you coached me already, right? In 2 sessions of sitting with you. And that's awesome. And I do have a contact for you that just moved out here that I'll talk to her and just see if she has any interest of moving, because she's more solo on her own. It just moved out to like Mayor or um somewhere out west, south of Delano,
Okay.
but out
Yeah.
there
That's
anyway.
where I was just there last night. I was in Mayor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, so I think that that's the benefit of, of how I've set my company up. That's how I've set, with being the Realty Lab and being brokered by EXP. It opens up a lot of different doors for me,
Right.
so that I can help others. The collaboration at EXP is insane. The stuff that they provide for us and the meetings that I get on through through Zoom meetings, and the networking is so crazy, and the knowledge that I have been able to obtain from other agents that are just like me.
Mhm.
They're on fire and they wanna share that. It's been incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Awesome. Well, EXP has really, I mean, they're like the fastest, one of the fastest, if not the
Mhm.
fastest growing real estate company in
Mhm.
the last decade.
Yeah.
Because they're, what are they, less than 10 years old? Or are they
They
right around 10, 12 years maybe?
Now you're putting me on the spot.
I just looked it up not too long ago because Keller Williams, I was kind of looking at the different business models, like how
Mhm.
Keller, because I talk about my company that I'm building, yeah, and just looking at different business models and trying to emulate some of those, right?
Mhm.
And understand how the industry works. But regardless, in the last few years, I've just watched tons of teams that have started and have done really well in the
Mhm.
XP model, right?
Yeah.
So very, very good people that have joined and so
Mhm.
forth. So when you have that kind of good people that are joining, it's pretty obvious.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It's just mind-boggling. Like when I first joined, I didn't know. Like I wish I would have joined years ago,
Right,
you know.
right.
Yeah.
Well, Tanya, this is kind of bringing us to the end here, and I appreciate you coming on. This has been a great podcast. I can't wait to get our editing done and get you some shorts and reels. And
Mhm.
for all the people out there, if you want to hear more from Tanya, you can like and subscribe, but definitely reach out to her. You'll have all the links in our podcast here. So, what is the best way to reach you? You want to throw your number out there? It's
You can, yeah, my phone number is 763-402-2358.
awesome.
Or you can email me at tanya.mn, like Minnesota Homes, at gmail.com.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Tanya, thank you again for coming
Yeah.
on the show.
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
Awesome.